All right, y'all. So another trading day today. I haven't been trading for the last couple days because I haven't really caught anything good until today. So it's kind of crazy. I'm not like that really focused on like trying to catch a trade every single day. I'm more chill when it comes to the markets, waiting for a good setup. So I might not be trading every single day. So I might not be posting every single day, but I do try to catch trades. And today I did catch a banger trade. It was a $191 W for today, and it was a very simple trade. It was a little bit complicated, but it was still a W nonetheless. And I'm gonna break down why this trade ended up working out and what I was looking for. So, without further ado, let's get started. All right. So, first thing is first. Of course, what am I looking at? Number one, I mean, I think you guys already know what I look for. If you've watched these videos before, market structure is going to be number one. Number two is going to be supply and demand. Number three is going to be an entry model. So let's look for the first one, which is going to be market structure. I like looking at the 15-minute, but there was really nothing going on the 15-minute that I truly like. So at that point, I didn't really keep my eyes on the 15-minute, especially when the market opened. So check it out. Look, the market opened right around here. So we did have a supply zone, but I didn't really like it up here on the 15. But let's go over. Okay, so number one, we have market structure, and that is checked off. So we can say good. So this is good. We have a market structure. We understand it. We understand that the market right here is obviously bearish because we had this low right here. So we had this low right here, this high. And then as you can obviously tell, we had the change of character, which was right here, right at market open. So that change of character happened right there. So at this point, we're no longer bullish and we are bearish. So now we have this low, this high, and then we have the low, which is right here. So we are obviously in a bearish market. Now on the 5-minute, as you can tell, we have this candlestick before an impulse move down that it's obviously, this right here is obviously a valid supply zone. But check it out. Check it out what happened today. It didn't tap into this supply zone. It didn't tap into the valid supply zone. So we did have a supply zone. So let's put supply. We put good. We did have a market structure. So market structure was right here. So we did have market structure and then entry. So the last but not least is entry. Now we never tapped in. Price never came in and tapped in into this supply zone. So that was the only tricky part about this, is that we never tapped into this zone. And there are actually times when I've traded in the markets where we don't tap into a supply zone or a demand zone, but we're so close. And as you can tell right here, we were obviously so close to tap into that supply zone, but we didn't. But if you look at this on the 5-minute, look at how cleanly it rejects. Like, look at how clean it rejects. This is a good rejection. This is a good rejection. Now, what is this telling me? This right here is telling me that it wants to reject and it wants to drop to the downside. Now, how do I know this? Because I have experience trading in the market and trading this strategy. I've seen this happen multiple times. So at this point, I understood, okay, hold up. The market is bearish. We haven't tapped into that supply zone that I really like, but let's go on the 1-minute and see how it's reacting. So on the 1-minute, so at this point, it's already dropping off. It closed like this and it closed like that. So it's giving me the sign that it wants to drop, but I have to look for an entry. So as you can obviously tell, what do we have right here? We have a valid supply zone on the 1-minute. And let me break down why it's valid. Right here, we have the low, we have the high, and then we have the low right here. So this right here caused that change of character because as you can obviously tell, if you look at this, the market was doing what? The market was low, high, low, high. So we were uptrending, but then once we break this, we have what? A change of fucking character, right? So we have a change of character right here. So at this point, it's valid to look for candlesticks before an impulse move down that caused this change of character. So which one was this one? It was this one right here. Candlestick before impulse move down, causing that change of character. Now, I don't truly like going off of this, especially like on the lower time frames, like on the 1-minute time frame, just because it is pretty difficult to do this, especially like every single time. But in this case, I wasn't doing it every single time, and I don't use this method every single time. But in this case, I was using it because this right here on the 5 minute obviously is continuing to the downside. It's obviously rejecting not off of this, but it's still rejecting off of this area. So maybe if we go on to a 15 minute, look, it didn't tap into this either, but let's go on to a 1 hour. Maybe I'll see a no, there was no supply zone. But the way it was rejecting, as you can tell on the 5 minute, it was so bearish. Like this shit was so bearish, and I'm telling you, like I've traded in the markets before. I have experience, so I can already tell when the market's reject in a certain way. It usually likes to reject, um, in continuing the direction that it's going in. So if this was the opposite, then I would have looked for calls. If this was trending to the upside without tapping into that demand zone, I would be looking for calls. But in this case, it was supply zone. Now, and this is the tricky part, I will say, because although what I usually look for every single time is a tap into this zone, right? Now, although we didn't tap into that zone, we did tap into here. And this was because of like because what I'm doing right here is a little bit more advanced of what I usually look for. Remember, I look for the most obvious things, which is the simple three. Okay, market structure, S&D, entry. Okay, so of course I used this methodology on the 1 minute, but this is not supposed to be used on the 1 minute. The 15 minute, well, the 5 minute right here. Oh, actually, let's do this. So right here, this is 15/5 minute. So we put M. And then the same thing for this. So for the supply zone, I use it on the 15-minute supply zones. I look for 15-minute supply zones, or I look for 5-minute supply zones. And then for entry, I use 5 minute in 1 minute. Okay, so this is kind of like my criteria that I go off of, right? So what I did today was I went off of 15-minute structure, 5-minute structure, which was valid. But instead of going for the 5 minute, 15-minute supply zone, I went with the 1 minute supply zone instead. So that was the only tricky part. And then the entry model was still the same. The only thing that I kind of drifted away from my usual method and system is the 1 minute supply and demand, because I usually don't go off of that. But just the way that this was reacting, it just gave me all the indication that it wanted to drop. And not even that. For the entry model, I used a rejection entry. So what that is I saw when this came up into here, the way this closed gave me such a good confirmation that it wanted to just continue to drop, especially this one right here. So then I entered right there and then. And initially my stop loss was going to be somewhere. No, actually it was right here because that was pretty far. But once it started dropping more and more and more, I moved my stop loss. But as you can obviously tell, I played my cards right, and my stop loss or my price target was actually right over here where there was liquidity. So I wanted to create this new low, which it did, and it ended up hitting my price target, which was pretty good. But you see how like sometimes in the markets, it's gonna be different, right? It's gonna be a lot of different situations, different outcomes, and just different. The markets are gonna react differently every single time, okay? And it's gonna be hard sometimes when you go off of like a criteria like this one, and you see something and you just have that feeling that it's gonna drop or that it's gonna go in that certain direction. Now I know this because I've traded in the markets already, and I've had like that type of experience to the point where I kind of have a feeling, or I kind of know, or I can kind of estimate when the market's going to reject off of that. Before it even taps into a supply zone or a demand zone. Like right here, you see how it gave me that rejection on the 5 minute, and in my eyes, I already knew that it was going to reject. Like I didn't know 100%, but I had that feeling it was going to reject because I've seen this happen so many times. So it did end up happening. Now the difference between doing this as like a beginner and someone who has been trading already and has experience, like I've been trading for 3 years, so I kind of have experience. But like, let's say a novice, someone who just started trading a couple months ago, it's going to be a little different and a little bit difficult because you don't have that time. You don't have that time on the charts. You don't understand like how a stock moves like that, and you could end up getting faked out. Now, obviously, I knew what I could lose. Like if this ended up rejecting, I know what I could lose. But this is why I look for a supply zone. This is exactly why I look for a supply zone, because once I saw this 1 minute supply zone, I didn't just enter just out the ass. When I saw this, I was like, okay, if it breaks this, then I'm out. I don't care if it taps into here and it rejects, or it comes back up into here and it rejects. It's whatever. I'm not gonna wait. I've seen this happen multiple times, and if it doesn't work, then I'm wrong, and I guess it is what it is, right? So that's kind of like my mindset coming into this. But like overall, I'm not gonna lie to you, it was pretty good trading day. It wasn't like for me, like I said, today was a little bit more intricate. Like I had to use a little bit more brain power, but usually it's very simple: market structure, supply and demand, and an entry model. It's very simple a lot of the times when it comes to how I trade. But like realistically speaking, bro, it's there's gonna be days like this. There's gonna be days like this, and the only thing that I would say is you want to stick to a strategy. You want to stick to a game plan. There's no point in keep on switching strategies all the time, and switching between this entry model and that entry model. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like it really doesn't matter if you what system works for you and which one makes you profitable, because there's so many systems out there that that are making people profitable and making them hit consistently. So that's not really the problem. I think the problem is sticking to an actual strategy long enough to understand that strategy. And I stick to one stock. I trade one stock so I can really understand that. Because if this was, let's say, QQQ or NVIDIA, I probably would have got reversed. I probably would have got faked out, and this trade probably wouldn't have hit. But because I understood, and I've traded AMD, and I kind of understand how AMD moves, it's better for me to identify when shit like this happens than if I was to trade something like NVIDIA, something I never really trade. And although NVIDIA can give me good setups, I understand how to trade this stock, which is AMD, way more. And another thing is the when it comes to risk management, my risk management, I understand what my risk is. I'm not risking nothing anything more than $50. Not maybe there'll be times where I have slippage and shit like that, but I can't control that, and it rarely happens. But if it does, like the max I'm risking, like I said, is $50. $50. So today I took a $191 W. So let's say I take a loss tomorrow for $50, it's not gonna affect me that much, because I know a W can range anywhere from $200 to the high 100s, or $200 or even 300. Like the trade that I took before this was a $300 W. So I'm not really tripping about like being wrong and stuff like that, because I understand the only reason why people get affected when they're wrong is because of how much money they lose. If you're okay and comfortable with how much you're losing, like if I was only losing like if I was to make $500, but when I lost I would only lose 100, I'd be totally fine with being wrong. I'd be wrong. I wouldn't even care. And I think that's the good thing. I think is when people get wrong, they're wrong, and then they lose a lot of money as well. So it's like two. It's like you like you're getting shot twice, right? You're not just getting shot once by being wrong. You're getting shot another time by losing a lot of money. But it wouldn't fuck you up so much if you were just wrong by because the market just didn't play out, right? And you only lost like $20 or something. So that's the main thing that I would say. Now, when it comes to setting technical stops, when it comes to options, I set like a dollar amount. So if and I said this last time, so if we're right here, let's say the market is trending and we're right here, like literally right here, and I'm already down -50, I'm gonna get out right there. Like I don't care if it comes back up and does something like this and plays around and then it just drops. This right here is going to be my technical stop. Okay, my technical stop is going to be right over here. This right here, where you see this, this right here is my technical stop. This is ideally where I'd want to get out, right? So ideally, hopefully I spelled that right. Want to get out. Okay, but let's say we're right here, and at this point, you know what? Let's duplicate this. Clone. So let's say right here, we're down. This is going to be my dollar stop loss. So this is where I'm gonna get out because this is where the dollar amount, the max where I'm willing to risk, hit. So this is ideally, so this is my technical. This is ideally where I'd want this to hit, and this is my dollar amount. This is where I'm gonna have to get out because if not, I'm breaking my rules and I'm gonna lose way more. But this is why it's always important to understand like how much you're risking, how much you're playing with, and be okay with how much you're actually like how much you're playing with. So in some cases, like this is exactly what I do as well. Like let's say we have a really small stop loss, like right here. So let's say we were to enter really tight, right? So let's say we were to enter right here. If we were to enter somewhere right here, I would have honestly just bought more contracts and I would have been okay with having my stop loss right here because it's such a tight stop loss. So I would have been okay with this. The only difficult thing with this is then the reason why I don't enter trades like with this little risk is because a lot of the time there's a fly in here. What the fuck? A lot of the times I like to wait and see a rejection, like wait to get that rejection on this candlestick. So whenever price taps into here, or any supplier demand zone, I like to always look for some sort of rejection. Like I'm not gonna like it's very rare for me to enter a trade right when it just taps in. I have to wait for some sort of rejection. And the bad thing about that is that sometimes it'll leave without you. Like yesterday, I was looking at the markets and I was waiting for that rejection, and then it moved way too quick and it left without me. Did I care a little bit at the time, but I forgot about it quickly and it didn't affect me. But the difficult thing with this is that, like I said, it's gonna leave without you sometimes. So the only thing that I would say if you are trading in the markets like this, and waiting for that rejection, you have to be quick. Like you have to be quick. You have to be quick. I trade on my phone. Like I trade. I'm looking at my charts on my iPad, and then I just execute on my phone. It's very easy for me. But if you are somebody who likes to be really like in and out and very very quickly, I would recommend using your laptop. I use Webull. I don't know what brokers you guys use, but I use Webull, and it's very simple for me. Like I know people complicate brokers so much, and they talk about all this bullshit. But bro, just have one broker. The broker doesn't really matter. I think they all kind of do the same thing. So just pick one and then learn how to use that and learn how to be quick with it. So, but yeah, that was basically the trade for today. I don't know when I'm gonna take another trade, but this was actually a very good trading day today. Though I'm not gonna lie to you, it was a good trade. I did what I had to do, and yeah, so that was the trade for today. Now the markets, what do they do afterwards? Just to see, I'm not someone who likes to predict what the market's gonna do and nothing like that. I feel like that's a waste of time because it's very difficult for one person to predict exactly what the market's gonna do. And even if you predict what the market is going to do, a lot of the times you don't even enter off of everything that it did, right? So if I said, oh, the markets are going to shoot up, a lot of the times I would have only entered and maybe cashed out on a little bit. But yeah, so right here we ended up dropping, and then we ended up coming all the way down here. So damn, this would have been a crazy trade if I would have held that. But like I said, I'm not greedy. I'm just like, okay, that's it. And I took my profits, and then we ended up coming back up into here, reversing and coming up, and that's cool. But tomorrow we'll just wait and see what the market does at open, and yeah. But like how I trade though, like I haven't even been on my laptop trading. I really just been trading on my iPad. So I'll just get on my iPad and I'll chill over here on my beanbag and I'll just hit a trade. And sometimes I'll still be sleepy, which kind of sucks because I'm not really thinking clearly. But I feel like coffee made it worse because I used to drink hella caffeine in the morning. And the only bad thing about drinking so much caffeine in the morning is that I feel like you're kind of for me it just made me like a little bit desperate to enter a trade. Like I just wanted to enter, I wanted to do something and I didn't want to sit there. So I think maybe not taking caffeine in the morning during my trading session, I think it did me good. I'm not even gonna lie to you, but we, like I said, we're going strong. We're going strong, and other than that, that is it. I'll post whenever I take another trade again. Who knows when? I'm not really rushing this shit because I like because it like if you watch my videos before in the past, I used to rush a lot of my trades, but now it's just like fuck it, I'm just taking trades whenever I feel like it. Honestly, whenever I feel like taking a trade, I'll take one. It's not like I have to trade today. I have to trade today, but it's probably because I have other things that I have going on. So trading is like it's like a hobby now, and I said that on my last video. When you treat trading like it's just a hobby, it's so much better. Like it's so much better. Um, But other than that, that's basically it. And I will see y'all guys whenever I take another trade. So yeah.